A lot of people want us to believe these Trae Young rumors are false. It's rare that a big story drops and other reporters come out to say it's fake. But The Ringer reported league sources say the Hawks front office has the green light from ownership to do whatever it wants, including trade opportunities involving all-star point guard Trae Young. Oh, what? But immediately, reporters in Atlanta said things like two phrases that should never go together with credibility: The Ringer and Trae Young. I can't tell you how crazy it is to see reporters going at each other like that. Oh, but The Athletic actually talked to the Hawks owner about Treys Future. I don't open the door or close the door to any personnel. Weird he didn't shut that down. And neither did Trae himself. When Trae was asked about all this, he said, I don't know, maybe it's true, maybe it's false. You never know. What? Remember when Luka heard about a trade rumor recently? He shut that down immediately to the media's face. For some reason, when it comes to Trae Young, Hawks fans are extremely insecure about any criticism. They immediately lash out and get all upset. And apparently that bleeds over to their local media. It is so obvious that Treys Future is in question, but they refuse to acknowledge it. But all this goes back to a threat Trae made earlier this year. In 2021, the Hawks made the Eastern Conference Finals but lost to the Bucks. At the time, people said it was a fluke because they had an easy run. The Knicks were a weak 4 seed. The Sixers fell apart with Ben Simmons on national TV. But the Hawks were offended. That was no fluke. We're up next. Then they got bounced in the first round, outscored by 61 points to the Heat. So, when they started slow this year, a nasty rumor leaked. Yahoo said Trae could request a trade if the team doesn't make inroads come postseason time. So the Hawks were like, oh yeah? You're thinking about demanding a trade? Not if we trade you first. So if that happens, I think there are 3 teams that will come calling for Trae. But first, Chime is today's sponsor. I just had my first kid, and boy, when I tell you that's expensive. Sure helps to have good credit, and with Chime's secured credit builder Visa credit card, you can start building your credit with your own money through on-time payments and small everyday purchases like groceries, streaming, and gas. Members see an increase of 30 points to their credit score on average. Chime reports your payments to the major credit bureaus to help you build your credit over time. And it's all with no annual fees, large security deposits, or credit checks to apply. So start making your financial dreams a reality with Chime. Sign up only takes 2 minutes, does not affect your credit score. You can get started at chime.com/amhoops. That is chime.com/amhoops. I'm supposed to say this next part legally. Let's see if I can get it done in one try. The Chime Credit Builder Visa credit card is issued by Stride Bank in a pursuant to a license from Visa USA, Chime checking account, and $200 qualifying direct deposit required to apply for the secured Chime Credit Builder Visa credit card. Based on a study conducted by Experian Credit Builder, members observe an average 30-point FICO score 8 increase after 8 months. With regular on-time payments, results may vary. See Chime.com for details. Out-of-network ATM withdrawal fees may apply except at MoneyPass ATMs in a 7-Eleven or at an Allpoint or Visa Plus Alliance ATM. But don't get it twisted. For all of Trae's issues, he is still an elite offensive player. Dude not only scores over 26 points per game, he may be the most talented passer in the NBA. If surrounded by the right teammates, it could work. Still weird that other NBA players voted him 12th in the East among all-star guards. But hey, the Hawks have really been trying. They were the winners of the offseason in 2020 and 2022. Trae has had beef with 2 coaches, so the Hawks fired them. Then they got Quinn Snyder, who's an elite head coach. But now it looks like Trae's power in the organization is drying up. The old GM, Travis Schlenk, was the guy who traded Luka for Trae on draft night. He would do anything to make Trae Young a success, but the new GM had nothing to do with that. He doesn't care. And the new coach was given a 5-year deal, which says to Trae, you don't have the power here anymore. You must learn to work with this guy or you're out. which is exactly what Shams is saying in his latest report. The Hawks brought in DeJounte Murray, but Trae has barely changed. When DeJounte has the ball, Trae often stands in the corner or he's like 30 feet away from the play. He barely takes any catch and shoot threes, even though that's exactly what you think DeJounte would open up. So the new coach will ask Trae to finally adapt his game, and if he doesn't, there will be trouble. Listen to how wild these words are from Shams.
But I'm told the Hawks are continuing to closely monitor Trae Young's day-to-day commitments and his habits on a day-to-day basis, on the floor, off the floor, and what Trae Young is willing to do to be a leader and what it takes to be a leader. And clearly there's been continued question marks.
Monitor his day-to-day commitment? Questions about his leadership? Oh, I guess Shams just hates Trae Young too, right, Hawks fans? And what about the anonymous poll that just came out where other NBA players voted Trae most overrated by far? If you can't see there is real smoke here, you are in denial. It reminds me of how Tim Duncan approached things in San Antonio. Day one of training camp, Greg Popovich would find something to yell at Tim for. The message was, hey, if the coach can yell at me, the franchise player, he can coach all of you as hard as he wants. He was empowering his head coach to do his job. Trae is the opposite. If the coach comes at him hard, dude should put his house on the market. So what will happen next? The Hawks could potentially get swept by Boston, so I could see Trae being moved as soon as this offseason. But most likely, he will be on this team next year to give him and Quinn Snyder a chance to work together. But the number one problem is defense. I mean, Trae and DeJounte may not have been a perfect fit so far. They still have the number 7 offense, but the defense is 22nd out of 30 in the NBA, which is a trend. Every year Trae's been on the team, they have been awful. Their best was 18th the year they went to the conference finals, which is still bad. Part of the problem is DeAndre Hunter has not been as good as projected, and perimeter defense is still bad even with DeJounte Murray. You have to ask yourself, can a team with Trae as their best player win a championship? Would the Hawks be smart to trade him and build around DeJounte while looking for another star to bring in down the line? If they say yes, I could see 3 teams that make sense. The common thread is defense, because a team getting Trae wants to be confident there coming in. So the first potential team is Minnesota. They trade Karl Anthony Towns for Trae Young straight up. The Wolves are actually a top 10 defense this year with Jaden McDaniels on the wing and Rudy Gobert in the post. They need a point guard with Mike Conley getting old, and the team actually played great without Cat this year. On Atlanta, Cat doesn't solve their defense, but he's less of a liability at 7 feet tall in the paint. This gets even better if they find a trade partner for John Collins. The second of 3 teams is the Raptors, who have a ton of guys that are long and athletic around Trae, but we don't know what the roster looks like yet, so we can't put together a trade, but it would center around Scotty Barnes and 2 picks. Fred VanVleet could be on the move, so Trae fits at point guard. The Raptors have a team of high-level players, but lack that elite half-court playmaker and scorer, so Trae takes them to that next level. But the third team is the Miami Heat. They trade Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, and 3 first-round picks. The Hawks make up a lot of Trae scoring with Tyler Hero, but with better efficiency. They also replenish the picks that they gave up in the DeJounte Murray trade. On Miami, Trae is surrounded by defenders like Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, but he gives them that offensive punch that they have lacked in the postseason to get over the hump. You know, a really crazy question, could the best female player make it in the NBA? Just as bad on defense as Trae Young, no offense, but an elite shooter like Steph Curry. That is exactly what we have in Caitlin Clark, who is amazing in women's college basketball. So I asked a guy who worked in the NBA, and his answer was fascinating. Check it out.